welcome back, Kylie.
Hi,
to
Jason.
our second go-around of God-forsaken growth moments.
Those ever-loving growth moments.
Ever-loving growth moments. Blessed, good Lord, growth moments.
Make you feel, Jason, just a quick sidebar, doesn't it make you feel like that same moment of when you stub your toe in the middle of the night, like that sudden shock, sharp, what is this? I would rather not have it. How does it feel to you?
I mean, it's both that, but like I also get headaches. You know, so for me, I think it's both like stubbing my toe, but it's also just like a headache. It's like, oh, Jesus, another one.
Here we go again.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my God. But I mean, like, I think it captures something pretty essential that we all experience. And, for today's topic, we're going to dive into this idea of technology, right? Your area of expertise, more so than mine. And what we're really going to kind of dig into a little bit is this idea that technology is a problem, but technology can also be an answer, right? When it comes to fracking growth moments.
It can, right? It's kind of that, almost reminds you of harnessing the power for good, right? It's a matter of how you use it, how you control it, when it comes to the technology side.
Yeah, I mean, how you use it, how you control it, but from my perspective, I think there's also something interesting about how you understand it.
That's a good point.
How you understand yourself as it relates to the technology, right? So you and I today are obviously both on screens. Mm-hmm. And I think the first thing that I want to dive into, and I'll share with you a story, and this is a real story that I experienced with one of our colleagues several months ago. And we got on a Teams call, and they were just like, oh, I can't. Mm-hmm. Right. And they turned off their video monitor, and then they felt bad about 30 seconds later and turned it back on. And they're like, I got bags under my eyes and I hate my hair. Like, this is killing me.
This is not my best moment.
This is not my best moment. And like, I got really interested in this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm just like, well, now this is interesting. I have none of those feelings.
Right.
This is maybe where some of my particular neurodiverse traits are useful for me. But I'm like, what the heck is going on? Mm-hmm. Right. So I started doing a little bit of research, and here's my sense. I think that for most people, and check me if you think I'm completely out of bounds, that there is an underlying sense of both self-judgment and a fear of being judged by others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I feel this. I read an article too that kind of hit at the same thing, that was saying that once we've switched to video in a conversation, that there is a feeling that even with a 1 second delay of engagement or joining back to a conversation, that and that could be just time it takes to unmute, that could just be lag in internet speed, for whatever reason, that as low as 1 second gave the feeling to individuals that they were going to be judged as not engaged by the people they were talking with. And so I think there are a lot of people that are feeling that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, if you think about it, we're now in this world where we're sitting on screens all day, and I can see you, but I can also see myself. Mm-hmm. Right. So I've got 6, 7, 8, 10 hours a day, at least in part, of like staring into a mirror.
Yes.
And I don't know how many people that are like, man, I want to stare into a mirror all day.
No.
Right? Because it's very common for people to start judging like themselves. I have bag under my eyes. My hair is not good. I'm having a bad hair day. I hate some part about myself. I'm told is pretty common.
You start to notice or you watch, like in these instances, kind of the playback, and you're like, I didn't realize I moved so much. I didn't realize I do this, what I thought was looking from video to video is it instead looks like scanning a room. Like there are tics about yourself that stand out too when you're also focusing on yourself so much for so many hours a day.
Yeah, and then I think that gets magnified when we are removed from an in-person office culture that kind of gives people both a little bit of a feeling of anonymity, of being in the crowd. Mm-hmm. And so maybe their bad hair day doesn't stick out, amongst 20, 30, 15 colleagues.
Right.
But they're also cut off from the kind of natural compliments that happen.
Yeah.
How often do you roll into the office and you might hear someone say, I'm having a bad hair day, mm-hmm. and immediately response from people around them is like, you're not, your hair looks great.
Right. Yes.
That shirt is fantastic.
Yes. I love your shoes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so there's this kind of challenging situation where self-judgment and a fear of being judged by others sort of co-conspire and then get magnified through technology.
Mm-hmm. And erodes a little bit that feeling of acceptance and belonging, right? When you miss out on those kind of mini moments of kind of countering some of the self-talk that you can have in times like this, and you're missing out on the buffer on the other side, then it kind of creates that feeling of even more isolation and not being part of the larger part of the group. I think one of the other favorite tricks I have too is to kind of flip the roles there. Just like what you're telling yourself or what you're worried about for yourself, think about it in the point of, but are you thinking that about the other person you're talking to? Or are you thinking that about your friend? Like if you switch out and you're like, no, I've got a lot of things on my mind. I've got things we're trying to get through. I am in no way looking at bags of dries or any number of things. And you're like, okay. So then a reasonable another person is not using this call to zoom in on whether or not, you should have done something different with our appearance.
That's fantastic. I love that point. The other thing that I've done some digging into that I think is potentially pretty interesting, and maybe uncomfortable, right? I don't know about you, but other than like close friends and family, are you in the habit of inviting people into your home?
I am not. No.
Right? Like this, I think is kind of an overlooked and, from what I've seen, under-discussed realization, which is through technology, we are essentially creating windows into our home.
Yes.
And these are very often intimate places, right? Mm-hmm. Many of us are working from bedrooms. Mm-hmm. And if you only invite family and close friends into your home, the number of people who you allow into your bedroom is an even smaller group. Right. So like our homes are these kind of very intimate spaces. And, through technology, there's this kind of unintended consequence that there's almost a kind of uninvited intimacy, mm-hmm. where friendly colleagues and acquaintances or even like brand new strangers are virtually being invited into our home.
Yes.
And are able to see like what's in the background. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that can be an uncomfortable, challenging, kind of an experience for people.
Yeah. I feel that too. I've heard some people describe it as a little bit of, with that kind of blurring the line of then what happens as you're home, how it starts to feel to you after you've had 8 hours, 6 hours of other people peering into your dining room or your bedroom or wherever it might be. Then it's difficult to start to separate out, where is this now your personal retreat? And where is this now that you're using it, and how does it feel for you back as the place that you want it to be, the haven for you after you've felt a little bit uninvited,
right?
For a string of people joining you there for the majority of the day.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some positive aspects to working at home.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when you begin to view your home environment as a workspace,
Yeah,
right, there's some challenges there. I think that leads to kind of this third point, right? So if tech can be a little bit of a challenge or a little bit of a problem in a couple of ways.
mm-hmm.
Number one, sort of amplifying this idea of self-judgment and fear of being judged. And number two, like really kind of ramping up this sort of unintentional intimacy that we may not really be comfortable with or prepared for. I certainly also have the sense that technology also provides us some answers, right? I think that there's hacks. I think that there's some habits.
Yeah.
And that done well and with intention, we can use technology like as a tool of kindness and as a tool of empathy.
Yes. Yeah.
What are some of your favorites?
One of the pieces I love, and particularly to the last that we talked about, from the how comfortable or are you always comfortable inviting people into your home? I love the addition that most tools have now added to be able to let you obfuscate your background, to be able to put a favorite image of a place that you like to be or where you feel comfortable at, or an image of the office behind you. And instead of seeing what's actually there, you're seeing the overlay behind. I think that's a really great way, both when you have many people working in the same space or schooling in the same space, as well as to be able to help have some influence and control on that boundary of who are you letting into your home, versus still being able to be effective in face-to-face conversations while using a different kind of background. I think that's been really important. I love the idea of being able to maybe take that a step forward. I haven't seen this done widely, but I love the idea of being able to take that a step forward, to be able to say, is this a way that we can share back some thoughts with other people, words of encouragement, and things that are kind of top of mind, just like phrases that help others, kind of see that and bring a smile to their face. I think there's room for us to be able to extend it in that way as well.
Oh, for sure. I like you, I'm a big fan of backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
I use them habitually. And, beyond just like an office background, if it's with like a client that I've never met before, I tend to use a lot of backgrounds of nature, like mountaintops that I've climbed, or different landscapes that I've been bike riding through, sunrises, sunsets, like water, landscapes.
Yeah.
Because we know that nature very much is medicine,
Mm-hmm.
For the soul. And I know it certainly helps me to put a naturescape in on my background. And from the reaction I get from others, I think it does something kind and something good for others as well. And even being playful with backgrounds.
Yes.
I think can be a lot of fun.
I have met with many inside the Millennium Falcon, apparently, which has been pretty amazing. I think it's also a really great way to help in a little bit of ice breaking. So say you're setting up a piece where you can have a conversation about in an area that you feel comfortable of. Like, I see your background as something in nature. I can ask, is this a place that you like to visit? We can start to come back to, kind of come back to what would be the water cooler conversation we would have. We kind of have a natural entrance and permission to be able to ask about some of those pieces and why is it special to you, that can feed into some of the other positive interactions that I think we're missing out on.
Oh, that's such a great point, right? Like, if the technology can sort of tap into this fear of being judged negatively by others, we can also use technology to create these little moments to connect and be judged positively by others and with others, right? So whether it's something in in common around the Millennium Falcon, or, I know some of our colleagues are way deep into The Hobbit, and you can start to use these backgrounds to create common cause and to create connection and to create intimacy with groups that's on purpose,
Yes.
right? In a way that provides a kind of positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
I've begun to experiment with, in our industry, sort of interesting posters. We obviously see them up in the hallway when we're in the office, right? But there's nothing that says you can't design your own custom background.
I love this.
Right? Like with a note of encouragement or some words of wisdom, right? And really just begin to experiment and use technology to create a virtual environment that you are working in that is an avenue both for kind of a reminder to be kind to yourself, but is also a message of empathy and kindness to others.
Yeah. Jason, as you say that, one of the things that reminded me of, I didn't touch on, but one of the pieces I have appreciated the most about opening up opportunities from some of our all virtual work environment and what technology allows, kind of having a space to, even in the chat section, I get almost some of this most rich content, seeing people respond and react to things that are happening in real time in larger meetings. I think this has been a great place for me, a demonstration of creating that space where you're going to work and you're responding and reacting together, while different than it would be, but much like you would have a shared glance. Maybe if you were in the meeting together, and here you can share kind of the words like a virtual high five. And that's been a nice piece of opening up to a broader group, but still kind of fostering some of that intimacy and connection for the group that is there.
No, it's a fantastic habit. So emojis, backgrounds, high fives, Millennium Falcons, The Hobbit, Naturescapes. Right? You can use technology to really bring a lot of this positivity back into the lives that we're all living, and I think that we grow through the discomfort as a result. So I think that's kind of a good point to wrap up.
I agree.
Our kind of second go round here of ever loving, God-forsaken growth moments.
Blessed growth moments.
Where self-judgment and fear of being judged is a fear, maybe more than a reality. A reality is that maybe there's some uninvited intimacy that is a stressor. Yeah. But I think using technology to flip that around and take that uninvited intimacy and make it intentional and kindness and connection through backgrounds and through emojis and through things that we can find in common by using technology. I think that's going to help us all grow and be healthier and wiser on the other end.
Change our days and change the world.
Change our days and change the world. So that's it for go round number 2. I'm Jason.
And I'm Kylie.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.